Hello everyone and welcome back. We just got a brand new 4.1.1 PTU patch. This is an open PTU patch, so anyone that has a game package can download the PTU and play this patch. And we've got a pretty juicy update. We've got a couple of new missions that have been added, including what I believe will be the Invictus event, which is a Hunt the Polaris mission. We'll make sure to go try and test that out. We've got another special type of mission. We've got some updates, further updates to ships. If you're an 890 jump owner or a reclaimer owner, your ship is probably about to be a lot slower. Looks like those have been retuned. We've also got some further Polaris changes. I think they are buffs from what I'm seeing, but we're going to make sure to test that out. And apparently we have a full rebalance to military components to make them more suited for combat. So we're going to do our best to test that out as well, and anything else that is part of this patch. So let's go ahead and get into it. And first thing to note here as we get into the video, right at the top of the patch notes, they have noted that all players have been given the Ion, Inferno, Retaliator, Eclipse, Harbinger, and Gladiator. So those are pretty much all ships that carry larger missiles or are more geared towards fighting big ships. Or, you know, they carry torpedoes like the Eclipse and the Retaliator. I think this may have something to do with testing this out on the new mission with the Polaris, so that's probably why they're giving it to everyone, but you should have an Eclipse, Retaliator, and those other ones that I mentioned. I have those here. I didn't even have to recopy my account or anything, so that's available for you to try as part of this. Alright, so for updates this patch, under locations, we have a feature update, lighting updates for the Collector's Freight Elevator. That's nothing too crazy. We might go to Wicola's later, try a trade or two, so we'll check that out later. Next, under gameplay, we have a new mission, UEE Training Missions. The UEE is offering special low difficulty missions during Fleet Week that feature basic objectives meant to introduce players to ship combat. These are 3 missions done sequentially, all in the ArcCorp area. Each mission has full voiceover, instructions, and a temporary stand-in reward once all are complete. So maybe there'll be like an account reward for completing those once that's in on live. And then after that, we also have another new mission, Hunt the Polaris. New Fleet Week mission. A Polaris has been stolen by the Frontier Fighters, and the CDF are tasked by the UEE Navy to hunt it through the stand-in system, locate, isolate it, and kill it. The mission will be offered rarely, can be shared, and will only have one active at a time. Once complete, a temporary stand-in reward will be given. I'm sure there'll also be some sort of account-bound reward, maybe, you know, like an armor set or, you know, something else that we get once the patch goes live for completing that. So let's go ahead and let's go try out these new missions really quick. Let's first start with the UEE training missions. So we'll head over to ArcCorp, and then we'll see if we can find this Hunt the Polaris mission as well. Also, a little change I just already noticed. So the Hornets power plant by default, I think it's a military grade C power plant. On Urkel, it shows that power plant gives you 20 or 19 power pips, but it is showing now that it gives you 20. So there's already a little bit of an increase there. So it looks like some of the power plants have probably gotten buffed. I'm sure the coolers and shield generators have also gotten increased as well. It doesn't give me a number for the shield generator strength. So we're going to make sure to take a little bit more of a look at that later in the video. Alright, here we are at ArcCorp. So let's see if these new missions are showing up. So they're probably going to be under Mercenary, maybe? Let's take a look. Looks like the animal missions are back in now, the population management ones. Well, I am not seeing these new UEE training missions showing up. I would assume they're under Mercenary. There's nothing under Bounty Hunter. There's no special tab that I'm showing. So either they are just all taken at the moment, or they just might not be fully in, but looks like we should be able to do those at some point, so that'll be a nice little thing you can try out as, you know, if you're a newer player, or I'm sure there'll be some little reward you can do it and then get some little account reward for it. So yeah, let's go ahead. Now I want to go try and see if we can find the Polaris mission. In one of the known issues, it says, I think that it's only available in the Hurston region, so we'll probably have to head back over to Hurston and see if we can find it there.
But just in case you skimmed, Frontier Fighters stole a fully armed Polaris while in transit to the Invictus ceremony. Not sure what they got planned for it, whether it's some future op or just to terrorize Stanton. Bottom line, we can't let them get away with that ship. Navy's cleared us to take it out, so that's what we're gonna do. This thing's heavy, armed, and dangerous. So I'd recommend bringing friends, breaking out the big ships, or both. Let's go hunting.
There we go. Sorry, I just started talking right before I couldn't start click record. It took me a second to click record, but I believe I have got the Polaris mission now. There's like 40 people that are just grouping up for this. But yeah, so it looks like we have to go to its last known location. So I'm possibly going to go group up with some people in a Polaris, and we're going to go try and take this thing out. I think I'll just head there in my Hornet, actually, so let's go ahead and see what's up. I'm sure there'll be, you know, other ships and things there, so we'll go see what's going on.
Thanks for the assist. Hopefully you're up to speed with the mission specifics, but just in case you skimmed. Frontier fighters stole a fully armed Polaris while in transit to the Invictus ceremony. Not sure what they got planned for it, whether it's some future op or just to terrorize Stanton. Bottom line, we can't let them get away with that ship. Navy's cleared us to take it out, so that's what we're gonna do. This thing's heavy, armed, and dangerous. So I'd recommend bringing friends, breaking out the big ships, or both. Let's go hunting.
Okay. Well, I've already been missiled, so this is going very well so far. So, looks like when I got here, there's, I need to neutralize some reinforcements. We're just doing that. I'm assuming the Polaris will show up then at some point.
Target destroyed.
Scans picked up some emergency beacons. One of them might be that Polaris. Go take a look.
Okay, so we're going to head to this next beacon. Possibly the Polaris will be there, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so then looks like we have some areas we need to go ping. So we'll head over there. We're going to ping some of these, and maybe the Polaris will show up at one of them. Or maybe we'll get some more reinforcements or something like that. So the ping areas don't seem to be updating. So that might hold up the mission from progressing. I'm not entirely sure, but like I went to one of the ping areas, there was a 9-tail satellite, so I destroyed it, but nothing happened. Like I even scanned the satellite before I blew it up. So yeah, maybe these aren't 100% working quite yet. I'll give it a little bit longer, and then if not, we'll head on and check out the next thing. Alright, so now I've got on a Polaris, and we've got a new contract, so I think we're going to head there in a moment, and we'll see if that one works. Alright, so it looks like the mission is kind of borked. We've gotten it a couple of times now, and it just doesn't seem to be working correctly. Like the objectives just aren't updating, from what I can tell. So it looks like this one probably isn't quite ready yet, so we may just have to try it in another video. Alright, so next we have under ships and vehicles, there's several things under here that we're going to go through. First, we have updated the 890 jump and reclaimer flight tuning to match new large ship goals. So let me pull up SP Viewer and let's see, because I believe we have the flight characteristics. I personally don't have a reclaimer or an 890 on the PTU, so I won't be able to fly them around for you, but we can take a look at the numbers. Let's go ahead and pull that up. So first, for the Aegis Reclaimer, it has some adjustments to its flight as well as its shields. There's a lot of adjustments to shields and stuff and different components. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes. But for the flight characteristics, its max speed has been slightly reduced from 890 to 870 for a 2% decrease on that max speed. The biggest thing is its pitch has been reduced from 15 to 11 for minus 27%. The yaw has been decreased from 15 to 11 for minus 27%. And the roll has been decreased from 30 to 14 for minus 53%. And then in its boost speed backward in SCM mode has been raised a little bit from 100 to 115 meters a second. And then lastly, the total shield HP, and I believe it has a custom shield generator because it's technically a capital ship, that has been slightly buffed from 165,000 HP to 187,000 for a 13% increase. So that should feel a lot slower. Based on those numbers, I feel like that will probably be a little bit faster than the Polaris. At least on the yaw, the pitch may be a little bit closer to what the Polaris has as well. But again, it's just to kind of align it to more into that really large ship class of flight characteristics that they seem to be trying to adjust those really big ships into. Next, let's take a look at the 890 jumps changes. Alright, now for the 890 jump, we have a couple more changes with this. So, its flight characteristics. The SCM speed has been reduced from 125 to 110. I think that puts it at about the same SCM as the Idris, so that's minus 12%. The pitch has been decreased from 16 to 12. The yaw has been decreased from 16 to 12 as well. Those are both for minus 25%. And the roll has been reduced from 30 to 20 for minus 33%. So I think that puts it... That still makes the 890 jump more maneuverable than the Polaris. And I think all pitch, yaw, and roll, I think it's faster, which that seems a little bit odd to me for a yacht that's about the same size as the Idris to be more maneuverable than the Polaris, which is a military ship that's significantly smaller. So I don't know, that's a little bit odd. Maybe that's just, you know, they're continuing to adjust that. So we'll have to see what that ends up, you know, looking like for sure. But those are some reductions there. It's also had its main thrust capacity reduced by 23%. The acceleration has also seen a hit going from a main thrust of 3.2 Gs to 2.5. That's minus 22%. Its boost speeds have been adjusted as well. For the boost forward has been reduced from 300 to 280 for minus 7%. And the boost backward has been increased from 105 to 115 for plus 10%. Its fuel usage has also been decreased by 23%. Not a super big deal. It has a lot of fuel, so that shouldn't cause any trouble. And then it's actually had a 13% increase to its shield HP. It's gone from 908,000 to 1,026,000 HP, so even more HP for the 890 jump. So these are very interesting changes. I understand, you know, the flight characteristics change. The only thing that I kind of am a little bit confused by is that, according to this, I believe the 890 jump is more maneuverable than the Polaris, which feels a little bit odd. I feel like that should probably be adjusted a little bit. Maybe if they flip those to a degree, that'd feel a little bit better, since the 890 jump's a lot bigger than the Polaris. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Next, we are going to check out some further changes in regards to the RSI Polaris in-game. Alright, so first, under the hardpoint weapons section, we have for the RSI Bespoke Ballistic Cannon, the durability of the weapons has been increased from 550 health to 5,600 for a 918% increase, so those should be a lot more durable, not get knocked off by torpedoes and things like that, at least as easily. Under the ammunition, so it looks like the ammo count is the same. The speed, the velocity has been reduced quite a bit from 1,300 to 890 meters a second. That's minus 32%. The maximum range has also been significantly reduced from 5,200 meters to 3,560 meters, also for minus 32%. Then the impact damage, so the physical damage, it has been increased from 2,400 to 3,400 for plus 42%. So it's going to do a lot more damage per hit. So then that'll also increase its damage per shot to that 3,400. And its damage per second has increased by about 800. I think it shoots like 50 RPM or something like that. So it'll do more damage. That's kind of odd that they've reduced the velocity of it and the max range. A little bit weird, but at least you should be able to land some better hits with it and be able to deal a little bit more damage. It did feel a little bit underpowered in terms of size 6 weapons. Like if you compared it stats-wise, it did less damage than pretty much every other size 6 weapon that's in the game, even though we can't even use size 6 weapons on any other ship, unfortunately. So that is some of the damage updates. Now, there's also been some updates to the turn rate and stuff of this particular turret. Let's take a look at those real quick. Okay, so under the turret section, for the man turret, again, the yaw axis has been reduced in speed from 95 to 50 for a minus 47% decrease. So quite significant there. The time to get up to that full rotation speed has been increased from 0.3 seconds, I'd assume, to 0.85, so it's going to take longer to turn at that full speed. And then the acceleration decay has been reduced from 18 to 10. Probably just, again, some other metric of how the turn rate is affected. And then we also have the same thing with the pitch It's gone from 95 to 50 for the rate it turns, minus 47%, and those same full speed things. So it looks like they have just slowed down the turret overall, in its movement and the velocity of the rounds it fires, and then they've just increased that damage. So let's go inside, let's get in there, move it around a little bit, and then let's try out shooting it, since there's also supposed to be some new recoil animations or something when we are in the turret. Alright, let's get in the turret, and we'll see what has changed. Okay, so we still got 300 shots, it looks like, and turret's already on. So let's see if we turn... Oh yeah, this is way slower. Now, this kind of makes sense for how big the guns are. It did feel like this turned a little bit fast previously, and I think this is still reasonable. Because again, this turret is not designed to be going after small fighters necessarily, especially with that hit to the velocity of the rounds. This is for slugging it out with big ships and targeting components, try and take that out. So as you can see, the turn rate is quite a bit slower, and you see when you switch direction, it takes a little bit longer. It feels better. It feels more how it should, even if I don't like that it's slower. So next, let's try firing off a few rounds and see what these new recoil effects are supposed to be. Oh. Well, that's cool. And you know, I think these recoil things are probably coming partially as a side effect of developing the Perseus, because it's supposed to have size 7 big old ballistic cannon turrets. And I'm sure they're going to have a similar little recoil thing you'll feel here, visual recoil, when you're using those. So I bet they just brought this over, you know, or a similar thing to the Polaris. So this feels really good. It, you know, gives it a little bit better sense of power behind the guns. Yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments. What do you think about these changes with the Polaris turret and some of these other things? And next, we're going to get into what might turn out to be it's going to be a very interesting section. Next, we are going to talk about the component rebalance that has been done for, I believe, military components, it says in the patch notes. Let's go take a look at that. Alright, so now it is time to go into SP Viewer. They have gotten it updated. There is 349 things in the changelog for the most recent patch. Now, we're not going to go through all of them, but there are a few things that I want to specifically point out. So again, in the ships and vehicles section for this latest patch, we have rebalance for military components to make them better suited for combat purposes. So let's go ahead and let's take a look. So I initially thought that this would be something like, oh, maybe they'll increase the shield HP for the military shields to be just like higher than everything else, because it was always kind of weird that the competition shields had the most shield HP. And from what I've seen, they have not increased the shield HP for military shields. They have decreased the HP for some of the competition and other shield types. And some of the industrial type ships or shield generators have seen increases to their HP, but there have been other adjustments to other components like coolers and power plants for the military versions that have been an actual buff or increase. So let's go through a couple notable ones. So first, I want to go over very briefly the Polaris in this patch. Something else that has changed for the Polaris is its shield HP. The shield HP for the Polaris has been reduced. It has gone from 908,000 to 513,000. That is minus 44% of the shield HP that it had. This change, I don't know. I don't know about this, because I remember when they first put the Polaris in 324.2 or something like that, really close before IAE, that initially its shield generation, its shield HP was around 500,000 or so, and then they actually buffed it up to that 900,000. So this change is a little bit odd. We saw the 890 jump that got its shield HP increased to over 1 million now, and again, that's not a warship. The Polaris is, and now its shield HP has almost been halved. So that's quite odd. Let me know your thoughts in the comments if you think this is a good idea or not. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this. I'm leaning on the side of this might not be the greatest idea, since we already absolutely, they reduced the Polaris's maneuverability quite a bit, and now they're taking away 44% of its shield generation or its shield HP. So it's gonna, I just don't want it to turn into basically it's just a sitting duck again, and it just turns into another ship that no one wants to use because the light fighters or whatever will just take it out even quicker now. So I don't know. It's a bit of an odd change. Personally, when I first saw that, I was like, "What? That's really weird." But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments on that. I'd love to hear your thoughts. So next, let's talk about. So we'll go through. It seems like coolers, especially military coolers, have had a increase to the amount of coolant resource they generate, and that's like pretty much every military cooler that I have seen. They've all been buffed to a degree with that. It also seems like a lot of coolers that are not military coolers have had their signatures increased for their electromagnetic and IR signatures, while a lot of the military ones have had, across the board, from what I've seen looking through this, a slight decrease in their signature output. So those have been, buffed to a degree. Again, they're not super useful quite yet. Coolers aren't, because of we don't have engineering in the game quite yet. In the future, they will matter a lot more. But yeah, so that's coolers. I think the biggest changes we'll see here is with the power plants and the shield generators. So let's talk about that next. So for power plants, pretty much every military power plant, from what I've seen, has been bumped up in its power generation. Each one will give you an additional 1 segment of power. So your military C, B, and A will all give you better than that. And they've also, at the same time, reduced the power output for some of the power plants that were previously the highest output. So like the competition A shield power plant, the Lux Core, I think, that has been reduced. So now I believe the military power plants across the board will give you the most power segments if you use those, which makes more sense to me. So there's that change. And then with shield generators, there has been the significant thing with those that I have noticed is they haven't had their HP increased, but what they have had is their regeneration rate. So how many shield HP per second they regen has been significantly increased for pretty much every shield generator that's military that I have seen. It seems like there have been some other adjustments as well to some of the industrial shields where their HP has been increased a little bit. But let me just give you a couple of examples here. So first, let's look at the All-Stop. This is a size 1 grade C military shield generator. This is what comes stock on the F7A Mark II. So we can see here its regen rate has been increased from 115 HP a second to 165. That's plus 43%. That is very significant. It's only been the military shields that I've seen so far that have had that massive increase in how fast it will regen. They have also adjusted the how quickly they start to recharge after they're damaged or downed. So those have been increased, particularly on this one by 15%. I think it does fluctuate a little bit depending on the shield generator. So that's the big thing there. And then if we let's look at some of the grade A shields, typically for the military ships. So here we have the FR66. This is your size 1 grade A military shield generator. Its regen rate has gone from 124 to 211. That's plus 70%. So that's quite good. And then its downed delay and damage delay has actually been reduced slightly. So it's each of those has been reduced by 4%, so it will start to recharge a little bit quicker. If we look at the FR76, which is your military grade A size 2 shield, our regen rate has increased from 309 to 530 for a 72% increase. And then on this one, the delay for recharging has increased by 5%. So the delay increases for the military ones that I've seen so far aren't super insane. Next, let's look at the FR86, which is our grade A military size 3 shield. This is what you're going to be putting in your C2, your A2, your Hammerhead, those sorts of ships. Your Starlancer attack probably in the next couple of weeks. Its regen rate has been significantly increased from 3,090 to 5,290. That's plus 71%. So those are going to recharge a lot faster. Now with this, it's interesting that the delay between when it starts recharging has actually gone up 16%. So a little bit more significant. It's still only, if it's just been damaged, it's 5.8 seconds, where if it's fully downed, it's 11.6, but still somewhat of an increase on those bigger ones. But seems like maybe just on the smaller shields that isn't as much of an effect on it. But you get the idea. So mostly with that, those military shields have gotten really good buffs to their regen rate, so they'll recharge a lot faster. I've noticed on a lot of other shields, like civilian or stealth shields, some of them have even had their health reduced. If I go find one of the... So here is the Mirage. This is the size 1 grade A stealth shield. So its health has been reduced from 1370 to 1130. Its regen rate has been decreased from 91.4 to 78.5. So that thing is recharging really slow. Although it does have a very short delay in how quickly it starts to recharge. That was reduced by 42% here. So now if you get hit, it'll start recharging in less than 3 seconds. So I guess maybe that's, you know, a little bit of an advantage to using stealth shields. They'll start to recharge faster, even if their recharge rate is quite a bit slower, and their overall health pool is also lower as well. So yeah, lots of really interesting changes with some of these shields. Last, we'll look at one of the size 3 industrial shields. This is one that people use a lot in the Hammerhead because it typically has had the most HP. It still does. It has actually had, this is the Parapet, it has had its health increased from 60,000 HP to 67,800. So that's an additional 13%. So if you put 2 of those in a Hammerhead, you can get an extra like 15,000 shield HP out of that, which is pretty good. I'd still love to see the Hammerhead gets some body HP buffs, please. And then also the regen rate has been increased on that from 3,310 to 3,900. So that's plus 18%. So not nearly as much as the military shields, but a respectable increase. But not really any difference for those on their delay and how quickly they start to recharge. So really interesting changes here. I'm sure we might see some additional changes as well as we move towards the patch going live, but pretty big changes for all those sorts of components. So I'm excited to try them out more. Last thing I'll show really quick here. Here's one of these size 2 Trenta competition shields. These were really popular because they would give you the most shield HP. We can see here the health has been reduced from 6,170 to 4,030. That's minus 35%. I believe that puts it about 1,000 or so HP below what the size 2 grade A military shield would give you. So if you're looking for max HP, it's probably going to be that or some of the industrial shields perhaps. So yeah, the competition shields seem to have been reined in a little bit because it was really odd to me that those were at the top of the list for how good they were. So let me know your thoughts on all of these changes in the comments. I'm very intrigued to hear what y'all think because I think for the most part with the component changes, I'm happy. Again, the Polaris shield HP decrease, not so much. I think it's a little bit too much if they were trying to do that. But yeah, let me know all your thoughts down in the comments. But that is going to do it for this video. There has been a lot of changes in this patch. So as always, I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. Feel free to like the video if you enjoyed it, if you found it helpful. Feel free to subscribe to the channel to see some more Star Citizen testing videos just like this. We'll make sure to get everything out to you as quickly as I can. And yeah, hope you have a great rest of your day. Have a great weekend. And until next time, I'll see you in the verse.